quite a lot. Yeah, I'm like, it's not, yeah. I'm still scratching my head.
This meeting of the Oak Park City Council is called to order. Please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. City Clerk Ed Norris, please call the roll.
Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine. Councilmember Sellickson. Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Speech.
Here.
We'd like to all congratulate Mayor Pro Tem Levine and his wife and their family on the birth of a first grandchild. So mazel tov, as we say in Oak Park. Number 4, approval of the agenda. I would like to just add 5M to the consent agenda to cancel the Beautification Commission meeting of December 16th due to lack of quorum. So motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, the consent agenda. These are routine items presented to City Council as a single item. Any council member can have this discussed, remove an item from this list if they would like it considered. A, regular council meeting minutes of December 1st, 2014. B, business licenses, new and renewals as submitted for December 15th, 2014. C, taxi cab, daycare, and precious metal license renewals for December 15th, 2014. Zoning Board of Appeals meeting minutes of October 28th. Planning Commission meetings of November 10th. Request that council declare a list of computers, monitors, and other office equipment as surplus and authorize the disposal of same at the lowest expense to the city in accordance with city policy. G, Building Board of Appeals meeting minutes of June 9th. H, Oak Park Public Safety Activity Summary for August, September, and October. I, request approval of payment application number 4, final, for the 2010 water main replacement project M553 to Macomb Pipeline in the total amount of $5,000. J, request approval of payment of invoices from OHM for the water reservoir pumping station improvements in the total amounts of $2,065. K, request approval to advertise for bids for the 2015 catch basin line replacement and sewer lateral repair project, M606. L, request that City Council accept the request of Chairman for the Zoning Board of Appeals and cancel the December 23rd regularly scheduled meeting. M, cancel the Beautification Commission meeting of December 16th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 6, recognition of visiting elected officials. We would like to welcome Maxine Goodfriend, member of the Oak Park School Board, for a quick update. Thank you and welcome.
evening, Mayor and council members. I'm glad to be here since we're partners together in collaborating with our school district and the city. So it's my appreciation to be here and tell you some of the great things that are happening in Oak Park. The Oak Park School District is financially responsible. What does that mean? That means we are no longer in debt. We have cleared off over $8 million in debt. We worked very hard. We were determined. We have a marvelous superintendent, director of special services, Mr. Trumpeter, and Mrs. Brill, our finance director. And with that in mind, we can say that this coming June, we will be in a profit of quite a bit, sum of money. So we'll just wait. But we're really very proud.
Huge achievement, thank you.
Worked hard, and our kids are getting more for their buck now, a lot more than we ever thought would happen. We have added Great Start readiness programs to every one of our elementary schools. That started with just one little school, and now it's in all 3 elementary schools filled to capacity. Our children are learning reading and math preschool, so that when they get into kindergarten, they're ready for it, and they understand exactly what is happening. We are most proud of our winning football program that is filled with scholar athletes. And I put the emphasis on scholar because they are required to have the grade point average that allows them to be athletes as well. Our great coaching staff, and we are honored to have our coaches that have been asked to serve in a different capacity on the state of Michigan. There will be a dinner for our great football young man, John Kelly, and he's being awarded the awards from the Detroit Free Press, the All-State Dream Team, as well as to commemorate his achievement that has been invited with several other young men of the Michigan chapter of the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame Awards Banquet, and that will be held December 17th, which I think is Wednesday. So we're really proud of him. He's a senior. He's graduating, and he's going on to the University of Michigan. That's what's happening with our athletes. We are challenging the community to be a part of our Get Fit. We are in cooperation with St. John Providence Hospital, and our program is a grant that was written and submitted by Ms. Murphy, Stan Trumpeter, and Dr. Colbert. On September the 1st, it was awarded to us with the letter that we received in October. So that means that they are working with us in the community, not just the school community, but the entire city community to join in this program. And we want our young people to learn to eat well, to exercise, to do things more than just sitting with a little gadget in their hands. There will be a walkathon May 15th, May of 2015. It'll be a 5-mile walkathon, so we're hoping that we'll have some volunteers from the city that will walk with us, and that's a part of the St. John's Providence Health System. We will walk the mile and talk and enjoy and be partners. We are sure that you've heard of our award-winning marching band practicing throughout the year on Coolidge Highway and performing the 4th of July parade, and you may have witnessed clips of the news of them in Garden City and the November 29th parade for the Santaland parade, but we want you to be part of our winter holiday concert, which begins tomorrow. One concert will be tomorrow for our instrumental K through 12, and then we will have our choral, and there are different flyers up that I've presented to you, so that we would hope that you could be visiting, as well as our choral program is phenomenal, and we have all children involved, all children, from kindergarten on up, as well as in our marching band. Last but not least is Dr. Martin Luther King. and that's a great celebration. It starts at 9 a.m. at Oak Park High School. It is very important to us and for our children and our community, and I would hope to see some of you to be able to come and visit with us and share in Dr. King's birthday celebration. And lastly, I would like to just say that on Monday, January 26th, the Gifted and Talented Honors Students GATH is hosting a Portfolio of a Scholar conference at Oak Park High School. This has never happened before. So we would be hoping that you would like to stop by and see this. The students will be giving a one-on-one 3-minute presentation to guest professionals. If you're interested, we would love to have you. In the event that you have feedback and concerns that you need, you can always contact the superintendent's office, and the phone number is 248-336-7706. I hope that we'll see you soon again and report as goes on. But our academics are terrific, our attendance is top of the line, and our kids are doing extremely well. And their honors for commencement, as the mayor can attest to, since she's with us at commencement time, and the honors awards are phenomenal. So thank you
We're
very
very
much.
proud of everything you've done, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
reporting out. Item 7 on the agenda is special recognition or presentations. I'd like to call Director Cooper up to talk about the remembrance of Officer Mason Samborski. His loss has touched all of us in a very personal way, and we treasure his memory.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. December 28th will mark the 6-year anniversary of the line of duty death of Oak Park Public Safety Officer Mason Samborski. Officer Samborski was killed in the line of duty following the events of a traffic stop at 10 Mile Road in Greenfield on December 28, 2008. Mason lost his life while serving the people of Oak Park. That was a tragic day for the city, for the Public Safety Department, and for most of all, Mason's family, who lost a husband, a father, a son, and a brother. We will keep our pledge to always honor Officer Samborski's memory and his sacrifice. Mason was a dedicated husband, father, and a fine public safety officer in every respect. It is appropriate to also recognize and thank the officers who continue to serve Oak Park as public safety officers. It is the calling of every law enforcement officer to serve and to protect others. It is our uniformed officers who are the first to respond to every call for help and who put themselves in harm's way every day to maintain order and to keep the citizens of Oak Park safe. We are grateful for that dedication to that duty. This year so far, 109 officers across the United States have lost their lives in the line of duty. During Law Enforcement Memorial Week each year in Washington, D.C., thousands of law enforcement officers, family members, and friends from across this great nation gather to remember, honor, and pay respect to those officers. We are forever grateful and indebted to our fallen heroes. Tonight, on behalf of the men and women of the Public Safety Department, I offer our tribute to the memory of Officer Mason Samborski, and we honor him for his sacrifice. Pause for a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cooper. And thanks to all the officers who are here for your service, for your kindness, for your effectiveness. You're what keeps Oak Park special, and we appreciate you. Thank you. City Manager Eric Tungate is going to do our Employee Recognition of the Month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I would ask our officers in the back to stick around here a moment if you would, because I'm going to be honoring one of your own. And Linda, if you could come up to the podium for me. I'm going to honor Linda Miller as our Employee of the Month for the month of December, not just because she's a wonderful employee, administratively sound, gets the job done, great attitude, all of those things, but she's a true pleasure to work with. And, you know, these jobs are not always easy, but Linda certainly makes things a little bit more acceptable, and I appreciate that very much. And that's one of the reasons I've selected you as my employee for the month of December. I know the director wants to say a few words as well.
Again, yes, thank you, City Manager, Mayor, and Council. When the City Manager actually formally announced that Linda Miller would be honored as our employee for the month of December, personally, I couldn't have been happier for such a deserving person. As a detective in the Investigation Bureau, as the Deputy Director, and now the Director of the Public Safety Department, I've had the pleasure of working personally with Linda for many years. And during all the time that I've known Linda, she has never changed. Not only is she hardworking, humble, and unassuming, she is genuinely one of the sweetest, kindest, and most caring persons that you will ever meet. I'd just like to take a moment to reflect back for a minute. As everyone remembers, in 2012, the city experienced some very challenging fiscal times in which very difficult decisions had to be made. And during that time, the Public Safety Department was forced to lay off several employees, eliminate some key positions within the department. And one of those positions that was eliminated was that of the administrative assistant. The position was eliminated, but the work remained. Linda voluntarily agreed to take on a significant amount of the workload without being asked or without receiving an extra dime in compensation. Linda routinely stays over after hours to complete tasks, voluntarily comes in to work on weekends, and it's not uncommon that Linda will come in and work on a holiday to assist with whatever needs to be done to keep the organization functioning at an optimal level. The title Administrative Secretary in no way does her justice. She unofficially has so many job titles, very knowledgeable in so many areas, and I personally depend on her tremendously. Customer service is at the top of my priority list, and I stress this to the entire public safety team. Linda excels in this area as well. When dealing with citizens on the telephone and in person, she displays patience, compassion, which gives citizens a natural comfort level and at times leads to long conversations and various topics of discussion that have nothing to do with why they originally called. Oftentimes when we speak or mention the Public Safety Department, we focus on our frontline officers who are out in the field on a daily basis, while our supporting cast, such as Linda, sits quietly in the background performing her duties without expectations of praise or special accolades. I know a couple of weeks ago I stood before you and I spoke about how often I get to accept the praise of the great work of the men and women of the Public Safety Department. This evening, I am so honored that the city manager has recognized Linda Miller as the Employee of the Month for December. And to Linda, thank you so much for all that you contribute to the Public Safety Department and the City of Oak Park. We love you, God bless you, and keep doing what you do.
If very well said, and for anybody that has spent any amount of time with you, they would echo the sentiment the director just spoke about. If I could ask the members of City Council to join me for a photo.
You gotta go down in front, in the middle there, right up under the... Boss, if you don't mind, we can just have the rest of our, all of you guys get a photo with Linda as well.
Ahead of the, like in front of these things? Yeah. Centered. That's a good-looking group if I was.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have special, request for special license is submitted by Congregation Aish, 25725 Coolidge, for an annual membership fundraiser event to be held on January 24th, 2015. Motion to grant this special license request?
So moved.
You guys are going to be busy moving and seconding today. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is accounting reports. Number 11, approval of payment for an invoice for legal services is submitted by Garen Luca Miller in the total amount of $10,021.15. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, B, we have an approval for payment of an invoice for legal services as submitted by Howard Schiffman, PC, in the total amount of $18,000.
May I say?
Yes.
Members of council, I just wanted to remind you, and Mayor, you may have just been about to say this, but with Mr. Shipman, we have for a long period of time paid in advance. And remember that we're on a flat fee basis, so.
Right. And this is for January 1st through March 31st, 2015. He is our counsel. So any discussion or questions? Roll call vote.
We need a
please.
motion, ma'am.
Do we have not? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And roll call vote. Thank you.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried. Number 13, under ordinances, we need approval of a first reading of an ordinance to adopt the proposed text amendment to the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance, Article 9, LI Light Industrial District, Section 901, is recommended by the Planning Commission. A motion to approve this first reading.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, we would like to call Director Kim Maroney up to discuss this proposed text amendment. And here she is.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council members. We, as part of the Planning Commission, had identified a few things in the Strategic Economic Development Plan to make changes. And one of those was changing some of our zoning in the Light Industrial District. We took a look at that area along Coolidge, 11 Mile, and then also 8 Mile Road, and recommend changes to the Light Industrial District to include a few more uses. The uses that we want to include in that area would be gymnastic centers, gun and archery ranges, art galleries and studios, music and dance studios, and venues for the performing arts, and then also as a special land use allowing brew pubs.
Wonderful. That's,
Many of these items have been requested in the past from the Planning Commission as uses, so we think this will help us to fill those spaces.
it sounds like we're bringing some fun things into Oak Park. So we have a motion, and we have a second, and any discussion or questions? Yes, Councilmember Speech.
Question about the brews and pubs. Do they fit within the tavern license guideline?
Yes, it has to follow the tavern license guidelines.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Speech,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have first reading of an ordinance to adopt the proposed changes to the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance, Article 2, definitions, and Article 18, signs, as recommended by the Planning Commission. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, okay. Now, can you discuss this one with us?
Yes, one of the other items that we wanted to do is go through a lot of our ordinances. The first one we identified was our sign ordinance. A lot of them have not been looked at for many, many years, and we needed to clean those up and make them a little bit more up to date. And we identified quite a few items. There's a few items we're still going to come back to at a later date after more research, but the items that we wanted to change are proposed here today. I had put a slide together. I don't know if Matt can pull that up or not. I'm just going to highlight some of the items that we're going over. One is setback provisions for freestanding signs. All we're doing there is making them consistent in all the districts. Each district had a different guideline. Thank you. We added a provision to include and provide for the clear line of sight for motorists, just making them more safe. That was not identified. Replacement sign provisions to allow us to update sign panels on outdated signs. Typically, if they're not changing use, we weren't allowing them to change the sign panels. This allows them to actually make them look better, but not have to take them down. We added a new language to protect against nuisance issues on illuminated signs, so any of your digital signs, making that more effective in our language. We added a new section to allow for art murals and an approval process. We modified our regulations relating to public buildings for consistent sign usage. They were different from sign usage in every other district, so we wanted to make them consistent with our other districts. The freestanding height provisions were modified to be consistent with the shopping centers. Again, just adding more consistency within our districts. We did talk to our code enforcement officers, and one of the issues that they deal with a lot is people putting garage sale signs at the end of the street to identify where their location is, because it wasn't allowed, and then they'd have to write tickets for it. So we decided that we would just allow people to do that, because honestly, it just makes sense. So.
Yeah.
We also added a new language to allow for sandwich board signs on the sidewalks. Those do have to be only put out during hours of business, so once they're closed, they do have to be indoors. We also added new language to allow for greater flexibility with awning signs, just to make them more appealing and easier to use in our language. We also added new language to allow for one small sign to project off buildings or under shopping center canopies. So for instance, in Lincoln Center Shopping Complex, while you're walking under the canopy, they can put a blade sign that indicates what store it is while you're walking underneath it, because right now you can't identify that easily. We also added new language to allow flexibility in sign locations and the number of signs on a building. We had a lot of variances that were being granted for this, so we decided it made sense to just make it part of the sign ordinance. We also added new language to allow for a larger monument sign on 8 Mile Road because of the more lanes of traffic and the higher speeds of traffic, so we were allowing the variance anyways when they came to a ZBA. We figured it made more sense to just put it in as part of the language. We modified the language to make the office district signage more consistent with the commercial districts. They were very limited on what they were able to do, and it made it really hard for them to identify who was in the building, so we wanted to make it easier for the businesses located in them. And we modified the language to be consistent with the state construction code. Apparently, we weren't following any rules, so we figured we better follow one. And the language was modified to allow for an administrative approval of temporary signs. So the temporary signs that currently come to the city council for approval would be an administrative approval instead. And the reason being for that is a lot of times the people coming to us, the businesses requesting the signs, don't have time because they don't plan their event far enough in advance to get on the city council agenda. And a lot of times there's a missed opportunity for these businesses, and we really want to become more business friendly here in Oak Park.
Sounds like this was a tremendous amount of work on behalf, from the staff and from you, and it's a huge improvement in moving Oak Park forward.
Yep, one of many to come.
Just delighted. Any comments or questions? Yes, Councilmember Speech.
First, I want to echo the mayor's sentiment. I know there's been a lot of work that went into this, so I want to commend you on that. The majority of all of this package, I certainly am on board with, I agree with. There's one piece that I have a question about and then a comment, and that's with section 1812 regarding murals. My question is, has there been any individuals or businesses that have requested that there be murals and we didn't have this in the packet, in the ordinance?
Yes, there
Okay.
was one business on 9 Mile Road, a boutique that requested doing a mural sign, and since they weren't allowed, we're not able to do that.
What type of mural did they want?
They didn't give us a specific design, but they did want it to reflect their type of business.
Okay.
So we started doing a little research on what other communities were doing and came up with a plan to follow some of the best practice policies out there.
Okay, and my comment, and I guess it's more of a hesitance about the murals. I can see the business case for it if we, I kind of see us as the community is emerging. We have this new economic development plan. We have a lot going on right now. And I'm hesitant about the murals because I've seen other communities that do them well and other communities that don't. I know there's some other municipalities, and I won't name them, that are struggling with some of the murals. Some of them think of it as art, and some people don't. So I would be hesitant for our community to take that on when we don't have a flood of businesses asking for it. I just don't know if that's right for us right now. But also in the language of the ordinance for section 1812, I think it's 4A, it says references must be subtle and integrated. And so I would think that we need a little bit more definition about what is subtle and be very specific, because some people might think that, for example, nudity is subtle to some people. That's art. To some people, it's offensive, and especially in our community, there's just so many things that the parameters are different, in Oak Park that may be different in another community. And so those are the things I would want us to take into consideration beyond the business case for it. There's just so many other things when it comes to art that I think we should consider when looking at the ordinance.
Do we have a lot of leeway in okaying or not okaying a particular requested mural?
There is an administrative group that will be put together in regards to that will approve or deny any of the art murals. And they would be appointed by the
And
city
can that come
manager.
before council as well, for our approval?
For your approval, yes.
Yes. City Manager Tungate.
Well, one thing, council members, creating a process for their approval. So a lot of cities have, with similar, as the council member speech alluded, similar uniqueness, let's call it, have created an objective review process and criteria. And so what I would ask, Kim, is that in the second reading, that if you wouldn't mind bringing that back forward and letting council members, or maybe prior to, you can review your packet to see if you're comfortable with that review criteria. Now, taste is very subjective.
It is very subjective, which is my concern.
But I will just say that having written one of these mural policies in another community, there is a way forward. And so we will look at all of those various undertakings and bring a packet back to you for your review. And if at that point you're not comfortable, then we'll seek alternative means.
Yeah.
And if I may add, Mayor, one of the things that I guess I'm saying is, it's not that I disagree that murals are great. I actually think they're good for some communities and at certain times. I just don't know that this is the best time for it now, because we actually are trying to do a lot of things, and the businesses aren't asking for it right now. We have one business that asks for it.
Right.
So, I don't know if this is the right time, and do we have the correct language for it right now?
Yeah.
Right,
And there have
so-
been other businesses prior to my arrival here, but
Okay.
I've only been here for 6 months, so since
Okay.
I've been
No,
here, we've
this
had one
was
request.
recommended by our economic development, the company that we hired. That was
Yeah,
part of their
Strategic Economic
recommendation
Development
was
Plan.
to encourage murals in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But we just want to have, we want to have the say-so, that we think it's appropriate, we think
And a
it's well
process.
done, that it's going to be a nice addition to the city. It won't detract.
Right.
And I
And
think
even-
we're all in agreement
agreement for
on
that, yeah.
that.
Yep.
We'd like some,
Yep. I'll
Some
get that to you
parameters.
before the next meeting.
Yeah. that
very
would be-
good. Thank
that
you
would-
so much.
Thank you.
So if there are no further questions, we will have a roll call vote.
Are we voting on this?
We are voting on the first reading of this ordinance to adopt these changes to the zoning ordinance on signs. And at the second reading, it will be, there will be amendments added to meet your objections.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Madam Mayor, if I could, I don't think, at least based on what's in my head right now, I don't think that the administrative guidelines that we offer up to you will be placed within the ordinance itself. However, that as we review any and all applications for this in the future, we will review them with those guidelines in mind. So they won't be in the ordinance, but they will be the administrative guidelines that we will subject every single request to.
And we will have the last say
Yes.
on whether it goes up or not.
Yep.
Council will have the last say, the last word.
They can't go back and change and add to this ordinance?
Well, you guys make the laws here, so you can do that if you want, but I'm just saying, what I'm thinking is that we establish an administrative criteria that we subject all of these requests to. And if they fall outside of that criteria, then we don't consider them for approval. And, that, to the extent possible, is bringing those forward that are in, the good taste of the city.
Can we get the attorney's opinion on what do you think would be the best?
Well, right now, we have a first reading of the ordinance as proposed, so it will be the language that is contained here. I am not clear if you're objecting to the language that's in the ordinance, or if you have an issue with the guidelines that are going to be administered through the governing board that will review the proposed murals.
I have an objection to some of the language that's not in here, so I think there needs to be more added.
And if that is the case, I would recommend you maybe table this first reading until all members are either comfortable with this language, or if there's going to be some additional proposed amendment to it. Because otherwise, you're going to pass this ordinance as is, and then you're going to be required to amend it shortly
Later.
thereafter.
I mean, I could be outvoted, but
Okay. Your opinion, do we need the language in the ordinance? Would that be a benefit to, we want to be able to have the last word and not get
Yes.
sued because we're not going to let them put up this mural that we don't like. And it's very subjective. So we don't want to get sued about it, but we want the last word on it.
And Madam Mayor, we can base the language and the guidelines on that premise. And so when we come back, I would recommend that you go forward with the first reading the way it is. And then we'll come back and establish those guidelines with that in mind.
I want to hear what the attorney.
Again, we can go back and establish guidelines after the fact. We must do that, whether this ordinance is passed as is or not. Again, what I hear council member speech saying, and maybe I am misunderstanding, is that she is not in agreement with this language as proposed.
And what I'm looking at, Manager Tungay and Mayor, is the fact that in 20 years, if there's some people that don't agree and it's not in the ordinance, there isn't anything that says that, I want to make sure that if we're setting ordinances out, that it's clear. There's no questions about it. It's in the ordinance, which is what is in the city.
Where are you thinking about adding and what language are you
Section
thinking about?
4, I'm sorry, Section 1812.
Right.
Section 4. It only says that references must be subtle and integrated into overall mural.
May I?
Section 1812, Section 4.
1812 murals. Where's 4?
Well,
A limited reference art mural shall be allowed if the graphics, words, and/or symbols referencing the establishment, product, or service are limited in scope and dominance and not readily construed as commercial advertising. References must be subtle and integrated into the overall mural. For purposes of this subsection, limited in scope and dominance shall not mean exceeding 20% of the wall area. You see that area down there?
Can I comment on that, just to clarify that?
Yes.
What we're referring to there is the limited reference art mural, which is, there's two types of art mural. Just one art mural that doesn't reference the specific business that is located in it. And then a limited reference, which would be allowed to have 20% of the face of it reference their business. So for instance, the clothing store that was interested in it, 20% is a subtle reference, people with clothes on would reference the clothing store. If it's a restaurant, people sitting down eating, to reference that. So that's what we meant by subtle reference. We can't have, for instance, at the restaurant, a sign that says, you know, eat spaghetti here, or clothing on sale. Those would not be subtle. We want it just subtle, that it's a reference to what they do in their business, but is not specifically pointed out. And that's what that's referring to.
I understand that. So, just so I'm clear with everyone, it's not I'm not thinking about the 95% of people that are going to understand these rules.
Oh, I understand.
And be fine with them. That 5% or even 1% that are going to poke holes in whatever, I think that it's very important and in the interest of the city's taxpayers' dollars and our, you know, what we do here is very important and behooves us to make sure that we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And I just don't feel at this time, even though I know you've done a lot of work here, I don't feel like it spells out enough in the ordinance what should happen and what should not happen. It leaves too much open to administrative rule, which relies on who the administrators are at that time. Whenever Eric's going to go on to great things one day, or you know, what have you, or we could just chain him down and he'll be here forever. No, but he's going to go on, and so it leaves it up to too much subjectivity in my mind, and that's not you know, saying that the work won't be done well, but there's just too much subjectivity. If we're going to create an ordinance, I would rather it be spelled out very to the detail than to pass it now and there be holes in it and we have to go back, or we have to leave it up to an administrative role.
okay, and Madam Mayor, could I?
Yes, City Manager Tungate.
So I think I understand what Councilmember is asking for. Now, the guidelines that you see here in front of you, those can be changed. And if you want to change what you see here, then I would ask that you take the mural section right out of the first reading here, and then we'll go back at it at another time, and we can provide more information.
That would be.
But if you're simply saying you want the administrative guidelines that we use to review these in preparation to bring them for your approval, then that's a completely different thing.
No, it's the mural part that I'm talking about. Everything else I've read, and I said before I started on the murals that I agree with. It's just the section on the murals and the subjectivity about it and the subtle, et cetera, that I had a problem with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what I would recommend is my recommendation to City Council would be to pull that part off, and that's whatever that number is.
Section 1812.
And we'll 1812, and then we'll review that in preparation for the next council meeting.
City Clerk, what's our procedure on this now? We have a,
Madam Mayor, we have a motion on the floor to approve the first reading. We would need someone to make an amendment to that. Would be
deleting the
appropriate,
mural section.
if they so be. And it would need to be seconded and voted on.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we amend the motion so that we approve the first reading minus the section 1812 on murals,
There you go.
so that can be brought back to us at a later time with amendments.
Is there a second? No second. That amendment dies, and we are voting on the entire ordinance then. City Clerk, please call.
No, we already had it. It's on the floor. The first one. Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
No.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. We will expect a lot of information on the administrative rules around this and the power of the council to just say no, based on taste and personal opinion. Okay, third, we've got first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 30, Elections. Article 2, Voting Precincts by amending Sections 30-28, 29, 30, 35, 36, 37, 40, 41, and 42. Can we have a motion to approve first and then discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. I wonder if our city clerk would speak to this?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. The ordinance before you is the voting precinct ordinance. We have a few amendments that need to clarify locations and boundaries. Those are noted in the packet that you have. They're all changes that really don't affect the voters in any way, so I want to make that a point. It's just amendments to clarify.
Looks like some of the old school names were used, and they're being changed to the new names, and there was street error. Correct? Minor changes. So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion or questions for the city clerk? Nope. A roll call vote then, please.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Motion carries. We are now at the city manager section. City Manager Tungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. First, I'd like to, before I call the Assistant City Manager up to join me at the podium for 15C, I'd like to remind our residents and our business owners that for our holiday hours, we will be closed on November 24th and 25th, and City Hall will be closed on December 31st and January 1st. So I wanted to reiterate that.
You mean December 24th and 25th?
What'd I say, December?
You said November.
When are we closed?
We'll
Just
be
repeat
closed-
when we're closed.
I'm sorry. We will be closed December 24th and 25th, and then again, we'll be closed December 31st and January 1st. Thank you. I'm back on Thanksgiving, apparently. It was a great holiday, let me tell you. I also wanted to share with our residents and business owners, as well as our city council, if you have not yet received a copy of the city's new calendar, you will be receiving it in the mail ahead of schedule. It's a wonderful calendar this year, as you can see. I know you guys hate me holding things up while I'm sitting up here, but there you go. Okay. And then I want to call the Assistant City Manager up for 15C, please.
Just on the calendar, kudos to the staff who did such a phenomenal job with that beautiful calendar. If you don't get one, there are calendars available at City Council, at City Hall here, and probably the library. Everybody should be getting one sometime this week.
Take it away.
Okay. Thank you. The city's engineering division went through the quality-based selection process to select an engineering firm to perform professional design services for the design of 8 traffic signals on 9 Mile Road. Engineers from Oak Park and Southfield participated in the rating. Proposals for qualifications were sent to 9 engineering firms that are MDOT pre-qualified to design and time traffic signals. 5 submissions were received and rated. The highest rated proposal was submitted by Orchard Hills and McClimate, Inc. Attached is a proposal from OHM to perform the design of the 8 traffic signals. This project will replace these traffic signals on 9 Mile Road and Oak Park and perform signal timing for 35 signals along 9 Mile Road and Coolidge corridors in the cities of Ferndale, Oak Park, and Southfield. This project has received federal funding that pays for the signal construction, construction engineering, and engineering of the signal timing and any ADA ramp improvements needed at the intersections. The city is responsible only for the cost to design the new signals in this proposal. The grant funding totals $1,385,500. It is recommended that the proposal from Orchard Hilton McClimate, Inc. to perform the design of 8 traffic signals on 9 Mile Road be approved for an hourly not-to-exceed amount of $114,057. Upon final review by the City Attorney's Office, funding is available in the Major Street Fund for this expenditure.
Super. I wonder if you would talk to us about the problems with the traffic lights, because council and residents, I think, are not aware of the difficulties that have been chronic.
Absolutely. On 9 Mile Road, we have very old traffic signals in Oak Park, other than the new ones that were updated at around the Coolidge intersection. The traffic signals are maintained by the Road Commission on behalf of the city, and they have indicated for several years that the traffic signal and the technology there is antiquated and needs to be replaced. So they have a difficult time with even finding parts for the signals that we have. We also lack pedestrian signals at some of those crossings. So for safety reasons, we have been desperately trying to seek grants for several years now, and we did receive this grant here for nearly $1.4 million to do this work.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
We need a motion to approve this proposal.
So moved.
Support.
Motion moved and seconded. Are there questions about the traffic lights? Comments? No? Okay, thank you very much. It sounds like a wonderful federal grant, and it's a boon to the city. Thank you for finding it and helping us join as part of this, and we look forward to the improved function. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Speech,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes, passes unanimously. City Manager Tungate, out to D, I think.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Maroney, if you could join me at the podium to discuss 15D, please. I know we have a guest here.
Yes, we have Jeff Wagner from Fifth Third Bank here with us tonight in case you have any questions. At the Planning Commission meeting in December 8th, we reviewed the site plan for Fifth Third Bank and their ATM location in the parking lot at Park Place Plaza at the corner of 9 and Coolidge. And the Planning Commission recommends the City Council approve this with 2 conditions. They are that the lease agreement between Park Place Shopping Center and Fifth Third Bank to be reviewed, and the language approved by the city manager regarding the termination or relocation of the ATM in the future. The reason for that is because that corridor, or I'm sorry, that shopping complex is one of the areas we've identified as being a redevelopment site in our strategic economic development plan, and we didn't want this ATM location to hinder any of our efforts moving forward. So Fifth Third and the landlord of that complex has both agreed to put some language in there that if we do have an actual development, not the words of a possible development, but an actual development, that they would be happy to relocate their ATM. So we're going to review that language. And then the second condition is submission of a landscape plan for the area adjacent to the ATM that will be approved by both the city planner and myself for review and approval.
I wonder if we could call Mr. Wagner up to explain to council why we're putting this in our parking lot.
Sure. Thank you very much. Madam Mayor and City Council members, Jeff Wagner, Fifth Third Bank, Vice President for Corporate Real Estate. As I explained to the Planning Commission last week, and not just for Fifth Third Bank, but for all banks in this day and age, what we're all seeing is a demographic shift in the banking habits of our customers. And as a result, traffic is dropping off fairly dramatically in our traditional branch banks, our brick and mortar banks. Roughly about 30% less traffic in our lobbies over the past 3 years. And basically that's because the new generation of customers coming up are looking for a different way to interact with us and our competitors. And that's basically through alternate means. They don't have the time or the patience to wait for a bank to be open at 9 in the morning or try to get there before 5 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night when most banks typically close. So greater dependence on mobile technology. A lot of our customers are switching to doing all their banking over the phone, of course, over the internet at your home. The last piece of that sort of three-pronged strategy that all banks are starting to look at is the ATM. Traditionally, over the past 20-some years, ATMs have been basically a means of getting cash. That's changing dramatically. The next generation of ATMs that are coming out that we're piloting right now, and our peer banks are doing the same, is that you're going to be able to do roughly 80% of what you do in a branch bank today, you're going to be able to do at an ATM. And it's because of digital technology and the things you can do at a machine that you couldn't do a few years ago. So as a result, we're all starting to look at how ATMs provide a more strategic, they're a more strategic tool in terms of how we interact with our customers. And this request is kind of symbolic of what I think a lot of cities are going to see in the near future, where banks are going to be looking to put ATMs in strategic places where they can augment and provide more convenience to our customers. So we're in the process of doing about 20 to 25 of these this year and next year. So this location in Oak Park was selected partly because it fits a nice gap in service between where some of our branches exist today, but it's also a place where there's economic activity that our data tells us customers would find convenient for use of an ATM. So that's going to happen in a drive-up format as we propose to Oak Park's Planning Commission and the request that we have before you. It also occurs in terms of walk-up machines in certain situations. So we're pleased to present this to the city for their consideration and approval. We were very much understanding the desire to maintain flexibility so that if that corner were to be redeveloped, the ATM would not be a hindrance to that. So we've readily agreed, and the landlord has subsequently also agreed to language that indicates that if the city has an approved site plan with a party that has a signed purchase agreement to redevelop that area, that we would either agree to move the ATM to a mutually agreeable spot with the landlord, and if we couldn't agree to a mutually agreeable spot, then the bank would have to remove the ATM. So we put that language in for the city's consideration. So that's basically the background of the request.
Two questions. Can you speak to the security issue?
Security in terms of?
The ATM drive.
Well, yeah. Our ATM, like all bank ATMs, they're tied into our central security council. We maintain a 24/7, 365 council in our corporate offices. So they're all tied in via cameras. They have built-in surveillance. We also have lighting standards that we're required to provide so that they're properly lit. And so we protect them basically just like we protect a branch bank facility. So it has the same level of protection that if you were walking into a branch bank. So I think that.
Now, this ATM we're getting is the old style cash only one.
Well, no, this will be a machine. Right now, we have just finished rolling out what I would describe as second generation ATMs. You know, the first generation ATMs were basically cash dispensing machines. The current generation that most of the larger banks, such as Fifth Third, have accept deposits. They don't require envelopes, so if you're coming up there with a check, you don't have to have a pen. You don't have to get an envelope out of the machine, which the envelopes are hardly ever there half the time. You don't have to have an envelope in your car. You basically put the check in the machine, it scans it, it recognizes how much you're depositing, and then the deposit is accepted. So all of our ATMs are of that generation. Some of the smaller banks don't have those yet. The next generation that we're working on, where you can actually do video interaction with a remote teller at a location off-site, that's what we're testing over the next year. And this location, like all of our locations, would be up for getting that new technology probably in the next 18 months or so. But right now, this machine will be able to do essentially 80% of the transactions that you can do in a branch bank when it gets installed.
I was concerned that you add to the aesthetic value of the property to make it look better in that area. Can you talk a little bit about what you're willing to do landscaping-wise?
Absolutely. Recognizing all the streetscaping that has gone on in that immediate area, we will sit down with staff and make sure that there's a landscape plan that's acceptable to the city, that ties in the improvements, because what we'll have is we'll have an island of a certain length that the ATM kiosk will rest on. So we will identify areas where we can install landscaping that complements what's going on with the streetscape along there, and make sure that, that it's consistent and complementary.
City Manager Tungate, what is your input?
I have, I just wanted to make council aware, I have received lease agreement language with this clawback provision, and you can expect that I'll be working with our city attorney to make sure that in the event that we do have a development location at that site, that this isn't a limiting factor. And I do appreciate your willingness to work with us. By the way, we're also open for business in other ways. So, you know, it'd be great to, I appreciate that the headquarters is moving to downtown Detroit, but we have wonderful locations for office space here too, as I'm sure our Director Maroney has told you. So I just wanted to let you know that, and subject to your approval, obviously, then we would review that and provide a recommendation.
Okay, a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions for Mr. Wagner or Director Maroney?
I know they were all answered, thank you.
They were answered.
Oh, great.
Boy,
Thank you.
very well done. City Manager Tungate, do you have anything further?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Motion carried. Welcome to Oak Park.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and Director Maroney, 15E, please.
Yes, also at the December 8th Planning Commission meeting, we reviewed a site plan for Addiction located at 14701 11 Mile Road to conduct used auto sales at his location. And the Planning Commission recommends that you approve the final site plan with the conditions that no vehicles are awaiting service shall remain on site for more than 36 hours, no dismantled or unlicensed cars are permitted outside of the building, and no signs are approved as part of the site plan review. The owner, Michael Kelter, is here, and all of his vehicles will be located indoors. It is to store his private collection, but he needs this license from time to time. He does buy or sell vehicles, so he needs a license to do so.
Okay. We welcome Mr. Kelter to come up and just explain to the council what you have in mind.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Simply as I discussed last week when I was here, I acquired this building a few weeks ago and am going to be storing my private car collection, moving my business from Southfield, where it's been for many years, into the city of Oak Park. The business is really 90% my private personal use, and there's about a 10% component to the business where I trade modern Porsches with other dealers and collectors around the world, primarily outside of the U.S. There will be no visitation to the building whatsoever. There are no cars available for the public to come and see, and it's very atypical in the used car world. But the state of Michigan has its requirements, and so I went through the process.
Right. Yep. I think we probably are looking askance at somebody else. We have a number of these, but yours is quite different from the other ones in that it's private and will not be a problem, in my opinion. Anyone have questions for Mr. Kelter on this?
No.
Thank you so much for coming in twice.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Motion to approve this request for this final site plan.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. No discussion?
Actually, I did have a question. Is
Yes.
there a requirement for security? Do you have a security set up for that?
There's no state or city requirement for security, but the building will be alarmed with a central station alarm system.
Okay.
And there's really no access to the building. The windows are all steel reinforced glass block, and the doors are essentially what you find in a bank vault.
Okay, great.
It's really meant, you could drive when I'm finished. Oh, okay.
Repeat a little bit about that
Yes.
for
So-
security so that
Yes.
our audience at home
I
can hear.
apologize. There is no state or city requirement for security for license purposes, but due to the nature of what I'll have in the building, there will be a central station alarm system. and there's really no points of entry to the building. The windows are glass block, steel reinforced, and the doors are essentially what you'd find in a bank in terms of the security level. The insurance company requires it for the value of what's being kept there.
So he's more concerned about security than even we are.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Unanimously, Mr. Kelter, welcome to the city of Oak Park.
Thank you. I'll be a good
We're looking forward to
Thank you. Good night.
Madam Mayor, members of council, as keeping in line with our monthly administrative department update, I've asked Director Bowman, our new library director, to join me tonight and give a brief update on library matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Tonight I have a presentation I put online here. Good to go? Okay. Basically, I've been on the job about 3 months now, and we are taking a look at some of the things that we want to do, what we are doing, and where we're going to go with the library. And so I put together a presentation called Growing the Library. We start off with a really firm foundation here at the Oak Park Public Library. We have an incredible amount of community support. As of September, get down here. As of September 2014, we passed 20,000 registered library users, which is fantastic. So over 2/3 of our citizens have a valid Oak Park Library card, which is fantastic. On any given day, our services are being used on a regular basis. Our computer labs are constantly filled with people, as well as our tables, patrons bringing in their own devices to use our Wi-Fi and various other items. So it's really exciting to see. Excuse me, I have a really bad cold. We have an incredible new building to work with. We're currently looking at ways we can use the space better for our purposes. We're looking at creating like little pods so that allow library users to use the library in a way that's more comfortable with them, and kind of sectioning things off to create some sound barriers and make things flow a little bit better. We have an excellent staff that is second to none. I really am pleased with who we have there. We have some really excellent librarians. We just hired a new youth services librarian, Charlie Osborne, who is very, very well known nationally, doing some really great stuff. So we're looking forward to what she's going to be planning starting in February for her programs. And then also, it's a really interesting time for libraries. We have some really interesting paradigm shifts coming up over the next couple of years. Kind of where we're going right now, we are looking at adding a lot of different kinds of programs. We're looking at Maker Day programs where we're taking and upcycling things from our own community. Some really neat stuff there.
What is that called,
Maker Days. Basically,
Maker
what we're
Days.
doing is I'm taking a whole bunch of odds and ends from different areas, working with a place like Arts and Scraps from Detroit, and making art out of assorted odds and ends. So it's a really fun way the kids can be creative, and it's really a nice thing to do. Speaking of crafts, we're actually having the Oak Park Arts and Cultural Commission coming in this Thursday to do a really neat holiday craft program. So we're trying to add things like that. Teen gaming days and things of that nature for the teens. So we're trying to broaden our approach and programs that we offer.
What time is that program, Thursday?
That will be at 5:30. Speaking of number two, we're looking at the way that we can increase the way that the community uses us. We're looking at what other libraries in our area are doing and seeing how that we can tandem with them or build upon what they're doing, and actually looking at creating some of our own projects as well. And that's not just related to programming, but materials and different kinds of online services. And lastly, but not least, emphasizing the library as a community interaction point and information storehouse in all facets, not just for books. Libraries are changing in what we offer. Just today, I actually received information about a online database that allows you to learn a foreign language online through our TLN, which is the library network, which is a really fantastic way. So it will allow a patron to learn, say, Spanish or Russian language at their leisure. So it really gives them a lot of flexibility on what they want to do. Where I see some of the things that we may be able to make some headway in the next couple of years, maker spaces. Maker spaces are And ours, of course, would not be a traditional makerspace. It would be a much more mobile space. Makerspaces are areas where like-minded people can congregate and learn about a topic, technique, or area of interest. These areas tap into community knowledge by having local experts come in and be guides to other users. So it really is much more of a communal effort going forth. So those are things that I'm very excited about. I love makerspaces. I love tapping into local people and getting them involved with what's going on. So, of course, we're going to be adding new and diverse programs for children and adults. Besides just our story times, we're going to try to be adding some after-school programs with STEM being a major focus, trying to do things with technology, math, sciences, as well as getting some more.
If I could interrupt just a minute.
Sure.
I think the Oak Park Schools has an after-school program with STEM. Are you going to be working with those nurses?
Yep,
And
that was one of my things. I'm going to try to, number 5 is really strengthen our bond with the schools and try to make it so that we can really help each other out and do different things. Like we might have resources and vice versa. So, we might have experts but not the resources, and they might have the resources but not the experts. So we can tandem back and forth and be able to work with that to really create something special. So, number 3 was working with the teens. We really have some really good, exciting ideas of working with the teens. We're going to be looking at creating a lot of volunteer opportunities, creating a teen advisory group, getting them involved and asking them really what it is they want to do as far as their area goes, get them a lot more involved, give them some voice in what they want to do in the library. And then, of course, looking at things like books clubs after school, readers advisory presentations in the classroom, offering our services to teachers. We are, of course, experts on literature. We would go in and be able to do some really neat programs on that. Teaching research help, and of course, doing things like computer database tutorials where we teach kids how to use some of the databases that are made available by the state of Michigan. And of course, let people know what we do. Go to community outreach services like Winterfest, Summerfest, 4th of July Parade, things like that, and get our faces out there and say, these are some of the things that we can offer you coming up. And of course, that leads me to the last part, is we really need to shift our perception of what a library is. It's not just about books and 4 walls anymore. Libraries are much more outreaching entities these days. We are really out there, and we need to start looking at that as we go forward, getting our community involved, being innovative, and really going places that we've never been before. And then, of course, on the last note of interest, even after saying all this thing about technology and all this kind of stuff, I just read an article today that said, as of February of 2014, 4,000 books a day are still being published in the world. So books still hold a valuable place in our society, but it's just, again, one facet of what a library does.
sounds amazing.
Madam Mayor, members of council, if I could add, and Brandon, if you would just talk about this real briefly, that we are aware that technology-wise we have some ground to cover, but council members, I want to let you know that as of, I think, this week, we will have all updated equipment for our circulation desk feature, which should remediate some of the issues we've had with that.
Yes.
We do also have public computers that will need updating, and we're looking into that matter as well. But do you have anything you want to?
No, well, once we get those updated, of course, some of our offerings we're looking at is offering really introductory computer lessons all the way up to beginning programming of some kind of languages like Java or Python, or even you can go into C++ or Scratch for some of our younger kids who want to learn gaming programming and stuff like that. So we have people on staff who actually know how to do that, so we can create things like that. Wow. So.
This sounds very exciting. Anyone have questions for the library director? Am I right in saying that there is a machine that I, as a resident, could check out my own books?
Yes, we do have self-checkout now. You can go, it is only for books only at this current time, but we are looking at a way to make it so we can also check out DVDs, and we're just going to change the way that we do our in-house cataloging of the DVDs, which will make it available for people to check out the DVDs through there as well. But right now, all you need is your library card. You go up there, scan it on the machine, put your books on the scanner, and you're done. And it gives you a printout of all your books and when they're due. So it's really neat.
probably some new signage or something to let
Yes.
people know that that's available?
Yep,
Because a
there will
lot
be
of
a
us have
big-
been coming in and didn't know we could do that.
Yep, there will be a big sign. I'm just waiting to get it up.
That's
So,
great, that's great. And I understand that you've got monitors who are coming in and working well with the kids?
Yes, yep, our monitors have been working really hard to keep the front area clear so that people can come in and out of the library. And of course, to keep things under control and copacetic within our main seating area. And we're looking at ways, again, of trying to urge the teens into their own separate little entity area within the library. So that's part of our plans going forward, is to try to make that more enticing for them to be in their area, which is basically where they would be more comfortable as well. So,
Right, so your experience working with teens is going to be a great benefit to us because we're so close to a school and there are issues going back and forth. And I was there when there didn't happen to be a monitor, and you were excellent at herding the kids away from the front door and down the path so there aren't kids loitering there. And that will make our regular family members much more comfortable coming to our library, and I look forward to all the new things that you're bringing.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Director Bowman. Madam Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report, although I do want to wish all of our residents and business owners a safe and happy holiday on behalf of our 165 employees.
Thank you. Call to the audience. There is a 3-minute time limit. If anything you would like to speak about, you're welcome to come on up. Give us your name and address if you'd like to speak.
My name is Maxine Goodfriend, and I'm a resident in Oak Park, so I'm wearing my residence hat now. I had spoken to Mr. Tungate a few weeks ago, prior to the holidays, in regards to a road condition that is deplorable. It's worse than that. It's a disaster, and it's on Granson. Now, we have this lovely boulevard here that sells the city of Oak Park, the city of Oak Park. We have this completely destroyed Granson, where our Board of Education, that we have worked so hard to build our school community and to invite our community to maintain their attendance in our buildings and others to come and add to our student population, is deplorable. It's shameful. It's disgusting, and it's very dangerous. The danger involved is impossible. They're not little ruts. There are holes. The holes are so deep that I will tell you, if ever I fell, or if I know of anyone that does, I will help them. I will help them get legal counsel. You are responsible for taking care of the phases of our community. If it means, and I said to Mr. Tungate 3 weeks ago, if you have to cold patch it every day, you cold patch it every day. It is a terrible danger, and I would like to see that taken care of. Not in the year 2015, but like tomorrow.
You
Thank
also
you.
had an issue, I think, with lights. Nope. Thank you so much. Would you like to speak to that Granson issue?
Well, let me just echo Board Member Goodfriend's sentiments that it is in disrepair. We did have a team out cold patching the street, and I will agree, it is a mess in terms of it being right in front of our Board of Education building. This is why the legislation that's working its way in Lansing is so important, and you can imagine that local communities like ours are crippled by a lack of funding. I mean, we should be on a more regular schedule with more beefed up funding to go out, and especially with our local streets like this, to go out and be able to redo these streets, and it needs new asphalt, let's be honest. It is something I've talked about with staff, and I will continue to address it, but call your legislator in Lansing, and let's get this transportation bill going so we can get more funding for these kinds of things.
If there are no further comments from the audience, call to council. Council member speech.
Yes, I'd first like to congratulate the school district on their getting out of the red into the black.
Amen.
And I know trustee Goodfriend said that they would be into the positive next year. It was a privilege to be a part of that, and also to be a part of that process. I want to say happy holidays to everyone in this season. Happy Hanukkah, happy Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, and all of those things. I also want to just encourage everyone to, if you can't attend the council meetings, which are held every first and third Monday of the month, to try to log in or try to get caught up on the council meetings after. If you can't make it, the day of, they're online, so you can always watch them later, because it's so important. Your voice is important. To all those individuals that did talk to me about the color of buildings or the signage or the murals, your voice was heard tonight. But you do need to be here, because there is no substitute for your voice at these meetings, the planning meetings, et cetera. So just want to encourage everyone to make sure that you're here so that you can speak for yourselves. And that is all.
Thank you. Councilmember Burns.
I just wanted to say have a very safe and happy holiday. And once again, happy holidays to our departments. They had their holiday celebration today. Very well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wanted to let you know that I attended the press conference that was put on by the Michigan Municipal League. All the area mayors attended. Mayor Duggan spoke. They are opposing the House plan for fixing the roads on the backs of the schools in the cities. We want our roads fixed, but we don't want to trade roads for teachers and police officers. So don't punish the cities and the schools. Find money to fix these roads. It is absurd that the Motor City has the worst roads of anywhere in the country. It's absurd. It's been a long-term problem. It's time that they came out with a solution that doesn't come out of the hides of the cities and the schools. We had a wonderful turnout for Kevin Edmonds' retirement party. He was an officer here for many years. He was in charge of community outreach and touched many hearts. Kind, caring police officer who will be remembered by staff and residents forever for what he has done. An update on the My Oak Park Art Contest. Speaking of working with the schools, we are partnering with the Oak Park School District in asking the children to come up with an art project that says what Oak Park means to them, what places, what buildings, what people, or what things like the train are important to them. We will be having them judged the last Thursday of February. They will be hung here in our City Hall on the windows. You can all come in and see them. The winners at each level will be getting a $50 prize from our Arts Commission. So it's another way that we're reaching across Oak Park Boulevard and partnering with our Oak Park schools. Neil Clyde, an Oak Park native, grew up here, went to school here, went to also Wayne State University, wrote a book called Craven, a Spider-Man saga. So Oak Park resident makes good. We thought we'd just brag on our own for a while. We've been to a lot of block club parties, holiday parties and things. We've driven around and seen a lot of what you've done to make the city look wonderful, and a lot of what residents have done to make the city look wonderful. And we'll be putting some of those pictures on our website. It's a sign of new spirit and a wonderful thing for the city of Oak Park. Thanks to our wonderful staff and our amazing city manager, who is not allowed to retire. On that, thank you. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Merry Christmas. Merry Kwanzaa. All the best to all of you. Take care and good night. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.